I do feel the pressure a little bit from society to be like, oh yeah, like you still doing that? That whole saying like don't wake a sleeping baby is totally like, that is such old school news. Lowering my stress, which is really hard when you have a toddler and you're trying to work and do everything that life is asking you to do. Oh my God, they're so cute. We meet the best baby. And then other times you want to rip your hair out. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole, and in today's video, I'm gonna be going through all of your popular asked questions on Instagram. I asked you guys yesterday to ask me your toddler life, mom of a toddler questions, and you guys sent me so many. There's some really good ones. I did a little sneak peek yesterday. All right, I haven't really had a chance to go through your questions yet, so I'm gonna be just answering them live in today's video. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been struggling a little bit lately, balancing my personal life, work life, mom life. It's a lot. I thought newborn life was tough. Toddler life is tough too in a different way. I don't like to say it's harder than newborn life. It's just different, and it's a lot more moving around, and you get a lot more tired in my opinion. So there's that. And Sage just woke up from a nap, so I'm gonna try to answer like one question. I'm gonna have to go get her, otherwise she's not gonna do her bedtime. It's like math, okay? If I let her sleep in longer, we're not gonna have her go down for bed at the appropriate time. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you're like, what? Why is sleeping a math equation? Also, if you're not subscribed, join the family, it's fun. Okay, here's a good one. We're gonna go right into it. Your discipline/parenting style. Now, everyone has such a different opinion on this topic. For me personally, I was spanked as a child. I don't agree with it. I don't have fond memories of it. I don't think I learned anything from it. If anything, I think it taught me aggression and using force as a way to solve issues. And anyways, I'm like very against spanking. So I don't know what future mom Nicole will say. Maybe she'll be like, that's the only way to get things done. No, I'm kidding. But I don't know what future me will say. But at this point, I don't believe in spanking. Matt knows my views on that. And I just try to use like understanding words, communication. I'm sure there's so many parents being like, that's cute. Like, but I try to understand what they're going through. If you can try to understand, I feel like it's a little bit easier to navigate and understand like why they're freaking out at you, why they're freaking out over nothing. So now that Sage is in toddlerhood, I'm trying to just, absorb information on how to properly navigate those big feelings. And, there's so many great accounts, like I think it's called Little Big Feelings, and there's books and stuff that I want to pick up. And education is everything. And I personally think that using force and spanking is like the easy way out, and it's not really going to get you results. If anything, your kid is just going to be like scared of you. Some people swear that it helped them, but that's not the case for me. Okay, I'm going to go get Sage. Hopefully she'll play and it won't be too distracting. But yeah, she actually had a really good 3-hour nap, so I'm not complaining. All right, we got Encanto on silent. We got some snacks, some water, and toys. We're good. How do you make sure Sage is getting a balanced meal every time? So when I think about Sage's plate, I think about all the different like major, macronutrients. So I think of a vegetable, a fruit, a healthy fat, and like a carbohydrate or a grain. So I really just try to follow that in every meal. So for instance, for breakfast, if I'm doing oatmeal, maybe that's my pumpkin oatmeal from the Baby Health Nut Cookbook. And then, so there's like the veggie and the grain, and then maybe there's I think that one has coconut milk in it, so there's a healthy fat. But I could also just do some extra fruit on the side. So maybe some cut up banana or some avocado. Just because you may not eat avocado with your oatmeal, it doesn't mean that your little ones won't. And I often find Sage will eat a weird variety of foods altogether. It's really just about getting those like different flavors, tastes, and textures, and different types of nutrients. How do you deal with toddler tantrums? So what I'm understanding from the world of the internet is these are called big feelings. I actually really like that term, and I just feel like tantrums sound so like negative. Just like with birth, it's like surges instead of contractions. I don't know, I find it like makes it a little bit easier to process. For me, I'm still learning and trying to like absorb information on how to navigate the big feelings in the toddlerhood realm. But for me, I really try to not react to her. I try to listen. I mean, I've quickly realized that by getting frustrated and kind of getting swallowed up by their frustration and their screaming, not only puts you in a bad mood, but it actually just like makes it worse. So for instance, if Sage is freaking out and she doesn't want to sit down to eat her dinner and we're putting her in her high chair and she's like losing it, you know, yeah, I could just like yell at her, get mad, force her in the chair. She's just gonna get angrier. I'm gonna feel guilty that I got mad at her, and like she's not she's just like learning, you know, like she's not meaning to make me upset or make me frustrated or stressed. She can't communicate yet, right? So I feel like that must be, I try to put myself in her shoes and in her diapers and be like, you know, how would I feel if I felt very misunderstood, I couldn't communicate, and everyone around me was trying to stop me from doing what I want to do or what I didn't want to do. So I usually just try to, you know, take a deep breath. And honestly, I've just been like lately with the food thing, if she's freaking out in her high chair, the last few times I honestly just try to make her laugh. So I'll start singing to her. I did a little like comedy show for her, and then she just started giggling and laughing, and then she was happy and she was eating her food. And like, I don't know if some people would say, oh, that's just like letting them like get their way, but like they've only been on this earth for like a year. Well, she's like 16 months old. Like, I just don't think that kids are creating these bad habits and have these like alter egos that they're really like, like I got one over you, you know. They're just trying to like discover the world and, you know, find their boundaries. And I don't think that like turning a negative situation into a positive is a bad thing. So that's what's been working for us. And then also trying to listen to her, speak calmly. Like I said, sometimes I sing a song, or I will ask her, I know this is a big one from, I think it's Little Big Feelings. I think that's the Instagram. If you're trying to stop them from doing something, give them an option. Like, do you want option A or option B? Like, say you're leaving the swings. Sage hates leaving the swings. So maybe asking them two different options, like, okay, do you want to hold mommy's hand and walk out of the park, or do you want daddy to hold your hand? And giving them an option so they feel like they have a choice. Sage is still quite little, so it's hard to really do this with her, but I still offer it to her, or I distract her with something else. I just try not to use like screens as a way to calm her, because I just don't want that to be, you know, a cycle. But I don't think there's anything wrong with just like pausing and talking to them and trying to say, I understand you're frustrated. You do not like when your diaper is changed, but you cannot sit in your poop all day. Just try to like communicate and let them know, you know, and what you're trying to help them. So there's a lot of questions about what is your method of dealing with teething. So I thought I understood what teething was like when her front teeth were coming in. I'm like, oh yeah, it wasn't too bad. No, the molars is where the real stuff happens. Those were like 2 weeks from hell, if I'm honest. It was like everything was upsetting, everything was screaming. I must have had like multiple breakdowns. I think, yeah, I was definitely crying at some point. Everyone was crying. It was just really hard because it just felt like everything was a battle. I think she screamed like 90% of the day. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Yeah. And I just felt like I didn't know her anymore. And it was upsetting because I thought, oh my gosh, is this like teething, or is this just Sage? And it just felt like I was failing as a parent. Everything I was doing was upsetting her. But I realized all she wanted was cuddles. We watched a lot of Encanto, cuddles on the couch, a lot of breastfeeding. We use these like homeopathic teething medicine things. I'll put a photo of it here. I swear by them. We've used them like ever since Sage started teething. And teething usually happens, like I thought it was just like teething happens and it's like ongoing, but it's usually like for a few days in a row, and then like when the tooth is actually breaking through, and that's, I guess, when it's most painful. So really during those times where it can be really painful, I just try to remind myself, like, she's not trying to be awful right now, she's just in pain and she's suffering, and these teeth gotta come out. So I just try to talk calmly to her, like, you're gonna be so excited when your teeth come out, you can bite apples and I'll do all these things, and lots of cuddles on the couch. And also I like to use a little silicone feeder. I'll put frozen mango or frozen banana in there, and those are great for the gums. Also, we did have to bust out the Tylenol a couple times. I only really gave her like a quarter of the dose because I just felt like that was enough to get the edge off. But naps were affected. But honestly, it just interrupts your day where you have to realize, like, we gotta clear our day, and cuddles on the couch. That is the best remedy for the teething. So a few questions about how many times a day does Sage breastfeed? Too many, I feel like. Because I'm home, I'm really trying to avoid like situations where she just like props herself on me and like is like, yeah, time for MILK. I am trying to get it to 3 times a day. Right now it's like still 6. Sometimes even before lunch, I feel like I've already breastfed her like 3 or 4 times and it's a bit excessive. So ideally we're trying to do right now, like once when she wakes up, once before her nap, because she's transitioned to 1 nap, which I'll talk about. And then once before, sorry, I guess 4 times. Once when she wakes up, once before her nap, once when she gets up from her nap, because she'll usually do like a 2.5 to 3 hour nap, and then once before bed. But I'm even trying to cut out that like I'm trying to cut out that breastfeed after her nap and just like give her a snack, which is what I did today, and just do the last one before bedtime. So 3 is what I'm aiming for, because I know she's just snacking. Like she's not really like, oh, I need we call it the boob juice. That's like the code word. There's a question here. How do you put her down for nap/bedtime? Yeah, do you want some more? Do you want to come up? How do I put her down for bedtime? Do you want to tell everyone? You want to go back down? This is like up, down, up, down. Okay. So I'm actually planning on doing a full video on my tips for getting your baby or toddler to sleep 12 hours a night and everything that I do. So if you want to see that, leave a little moon emoji down below in the comments. I haven't filmed it yet, but if you have any specific questions, you can leave them in this video too. But I know I get a lot of questions about that, so I'm going to go into like specifics, everything I do. Even though I feel like I do a lot of different things, our routine is pretty simple. I know some people have like a full hour bedtime routine, or it includes bath time. Ours is pretty simple, and I feel like we can put her down in like 10 minutes, like no joke. So let me know if you want to see that video. Sage is off. My baby some days eats well, other days becomes fussy. There is always a cycle. Does this happen with Sage? So Sage always has like her favorite foods. Yes, I will say she's a pretty good eater. There's foods that she definitely doesn't like. For a long time, she did not like yogurt or anything creamy like guacamole or anything. Lately, like she loves avocado, but she doesn't necessarily like it smashed. But now she loves yogurt. She loves yogurt with berries. I'll put some chia seeds in there. I've been putting some peanut butter in there. I'll make a little yogurt bowl, and she loves that. So honestly, I just feel like you have to remember that, think about you, and some days you're like, I don't feel like pasta. I've had eggs so many times for breakfast. Like, I feel like they get bored too, so you gotta switch it up. And you know, if you know your kid is a good eater, if they're saying no to something, I just try to respect it with Sage. I'm like, okay, like you're a good eater, so if you're saying no, I don't think it's just because you are just picky with everything. You're like, I am not craving my broccoli right now. And I actually have a bunch of tips on how to, like I have a whole video on how to create a good eater, but I also have hacks and stuff that I've been using with Sage to prevent picky eating, or just like help navigate it, because as Sage has become more of a toddler, she definitely has been resisting certain foods, just picking her favorites, and there's like little tricks and tips that I've learned naturally that I feel like have gotten her to eat those foods. So if you want me to do a video on that, leave a broccoli emoji down below. I have a few tips that I've been just like saving on my phone that I'm excited to share with you guys, that they're really, really simple, but they've been working. Like I've been testing them on Sage. One of them today was with her steamed broccoli at lunch. She wasn't really like digging it, and I got her to eat the whole plate. So it's kind of like a little bit trickery and play, but it works. And she, you know, still listening to her hunger cues. Nothing was forced, but she ate her broccoli. How long do you plan to breastfeed? So it's been an interesting journey with breastfeeding past the 1 year mark. I feel like up until that point, no one really cares. Like no one's like, oh, you're still breastfeeding, or asking when you're gonna stop. But once you head into toddler land, it's a common question. People are like, oh, like you're still breastfeeding? And it makes you feel a little bit self-conscious about it. Like it's a taboo thing, you shouldn't be doing it, it's weird. Yet when I look at Sage, she's just so, daddy's home. Maybe there's a question for Matt. There is, come here. Your relationship with your partner and how you guys resolve fights.
How do we resolve fights?
Yeah. We usually just realize like
they were fighting for no reason, and just one of us ends up being mature enough to.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like we don't get hot-headed. Like we'll definitely bicker and get annoyed with each other. Most of the time it's just because we're overtired and, you know, traveling and taking care of a toddler is a lot, and then you got your own personal needs, it's a lot. So I honestly find we'll just like talk it out, and then whoever's in the wrong, which is usually Matt, just kidding, be a bigger person, put your ego aside, and then just like apologize. And I feel like that's when fights like escalate, is when someone doesn't just want to own up to like, yeah, I'm sorry I said that, don't go to bed angry. And the thing I always say to Matt is like, we're on the same team, which is true. So back to the breastfeeding thing. Honestly, I was like, at one point, I'm like, I want to go to 2 years, or just the thought of not breastfeeding Sage made me really upset. But now I find, I don't know, because she's breastfeeding so much and she's a toddler, so she's like twisting and pulling and like doing somersaults while breastfeeding. I don't even know how that's possible. There are so many things I love about it. But you know, when the time is right and Sage seems no longer interested, or I'm feeling like it's a lot for me, then you know, I'll make the choice. But Sage really loves breastfeeding, and I know it's gonna be like a hard weaning process. So I am thinking about that lately. But yeah, I don't have an exact date onto like when I'm gonna stop, but I do feel the pressure a little bit from society to be like, oh yeah, like you still doing that, you know? So, and I hate that because she is so tiny and it should just be up to us, which it is. That judgment is still like lingering there. How much snacks do you allow her to eat per day? You guys going in the pool? You're gonna go in the pool? So when it comes to snacks, I just try to be mindful that snacks aren't gonna ruin her main meals. Just like if you were to snack, you know, throughout the day, you're like, I'm not really hungry for lunch. And I wanna make sure she's eating those like nutrient dense meals that I'm preparing for her. So I just try to break up her day so she has a mid-morning snack as well as an afternoon snack. And you know, and then if she's hungry still, she'll usually tell me. When it comes to meals, I always make sure to offer her more than what I gave her on her plate. And so once she's done it, I will always ask like, do you want more? She's like still kind of interested. Like I'll like give her a little bit of banana, something easy that I don't have to like reheat, just in case you heat it up and they're like, no, I don't want any. Banana is easy to like freeze for smoothies, or you can snack on it. Just try not to have snacks too close to like her next meal. And then with snacks, I try to switch it up so it's not always just like processed snacks. I try to do fresh fruit, yogurt with fruit. I have like healthier like Cheerios and like puffed rice and stuff. Sometimes I'll make a little cereal for her with milk. And then I have like little like baby crackers and puffs and stuff that I buy. But I just try to, and her freeze-dried fruit, that's a good one. But yeah, I just try to like switch it up. When did you start brushing her teeth? So I really like this one because it kind of took me off guard. I was like, oh, they're like supposed to be brushing their teeth quite early. Basically, once they have teeth. I feel like we were more adamant about it after she turned 1. Sage has like molars now, all of her front teeth. So it's really important for us to be brushing her teeth. If I'm being honest, it doesn't happen every single day. Actually, right now, I think we lost her toothbrush. I might have to order another one. I've been using like a little baby, like little towel to wipe her teeth. We will brush her teeth in the morning after breakfast and after she's had her like morning milk, and then at night before bedtime after I've breastfed her, because milk obviously has sugar in it and that sugar will just sit on their teeth. Twice a day, worst case once a day. But like I said, we just lost her toothbrush, so like horrible parents, I know. It's like hard enough for me to brush my teeth twice a day and floss. Now I have to like worry about hers, and surprisingly she does love it, but taking the toothbrush away from her is a whole other ball game. Like we're trying to navigate when to do it, how to take the toothbrush out without her noticing, and sometimes it turns into a big feeling. Please share your transition from puree to finger foods. So I would say that I actually have 2 baby meal prep videos on my YouTube channel right now, one for ages 6 to 8 months and then one from ages 9 to 12 months. So I'd say in the beginning, like 6 to 8 months, we did like thicker purees and also more handheld soft foods like banana, soft cooked sweet potato, and ripe avocado, because those are just really soft. So I feel like around the 8-9 month period is when I felt more comfortable giving her like foods that were still soft but not purees. So you guys can watch those 2 baby meal prep videos and just get some ideas on what I fed Sage. One of my favorite foods, especially for like getting them into solid foods that are still soft, are the quinoa with a chance of meatballs recipe in the Baby Health Nut Cookbook, which is a cookbook I created with all the recipes I fed Sage from 6 to 12 months and then going into toddlerhood. There's over 30 recipes in there, and they are all very carefully thought out on, well, they're the foods I fed Sage, but also I was very mindful on the texture of them. There's cookies, there's pancakes, there's meatballs, there's pasta sauce, and I give tricks and tips in the book to making them the right texture. And using certain ingredients like coconut flour, when baked, it's really soft. It doesn't mush up like a ball of dough or crumble too much. It's like the perfect texture for baby-led weaning style. Also, oatmeal is a great way, I feel like, to transition as well, because you can go from, you know, grinding up your oats into like an oat flour to having them more of a quick oat texture. Just by grinding them up in a food processor, you can easily adjust the texture and then move your way up to just rolled oats. So I just started slow and just let her guide me on when I should move to the next level. And you know, it's scary, I know. I actually have a really great online CPR course that you can take. I have a coupon code, I'll link it down below, as well as I took an amazing online baby food course led by 2 Canadian dietitians, and it taught me everything I know about feeding Sage, and I just felt like it just gave me confidence in what to feed her, at what age, what texture, and I feel like that paired with the Baby Health Nut Cookbook are just like a great way to kickstart your baby's food journey and not feel so stressed and overwhelmed. And I just don't know what I would have done without that course. So that's a great place to start. Definitely check that out and let me know how it goes. Sleeping routine on vacation. So I'm gonna go through this one because, as you guys know, we have been living and traveling in Florida for the winter, escaping the cold winter months in Canada. And it's definitely been different navigating it with Sage. Going from different places, you have to figure out what the sleeping schedule is. So a couple tips, you can either get something like the sleeping pod, which is like this thing that goes over their playpen or like their crib or whatever to help make everything dark. We don't have one of those, although it might be something like down the road. I don't know, I feel like we've already gotten down to this point without it, so I don't know for sure if I'd get one, but what we do is we just garbage bag. That seems so much more intense. We put garbage bags on the window. We either find the darkest room in the house, that's usually hers. If you can find blackout curtains, even better. A lot of Airbnbs don't have it. Hotels usually do, so you're usually safe if you're going that route. But just get some garbage bags. You only need a few, so you can just like pack them in your suitcase, have some tape ready to go. You tape up that window, and it is like the easiest way to make the room completely dark. And then I make sure that I bring all of our sleep essentials, sleep sack, white noise machine, and then obviously like where they're gonna sleep. So we have a pack and play. Sometimes Airbnbs or hotels will have a pack and play, so you can use that. But Sage will usually be in the darkest room. I've even had her in a bathroom. I just make sure that there's a vent in the room, and usually if she's in a bathroom, she's in an extra bathroom that no one's using, so it's clean. And it's a great hack because it is a dark room without having to like tape up windows. If you don't have the ability to have them in their own room, which we've come across that problem before, we'll have her sleep in our room, and then we will just sneak in at night. We just can't turn on the lights, which is kind of annoying, but that's usually what we do. So, and we stay on the same schedule and just, you know, try to keep in those naps and stuff at the same time every day. Even if you're moving around, you can still kind of time them and maybe do some car naps if you need to, some stroller naps. Sage doesn't really nap in the stroller, but you know, if your baby does, that's another way to do it. Does Sage wake up in the middle of the night or have bad dreams? If so, how do you cope? So Sage will sometimes wake up like a couple hours after I put her down and just like scream for no reason, then go back to bed. Apparently that's called night terrors. And from what I've heard, you don't want to actually wake them up or anything. They'll just go back to sleep. It has something to do with them sleeping like sleep stages, like too quickly or something. But I find like, it seems alarming, but I find she goes right back to sleep and she's not actually awake. There's other times where she'll maybe scream another time during the night. And I think the important thing is not just to run in there. I'll have the baby monitor on so I can check to make sure she's safe, but I never just like open the door, you know, just like you have a bad dream or you get startled, or maybe you're like, I woke up, I can't go back to sleep. I just let her try to get herself back to sleep before I go in there and intervene. So I just let her do her thing. A lot of times she's not actually awake. It just sounds like she is. She'll toss and turn maybe for 5 minutes and then go right back to sleep. Other times she'll, you know, wake up, cry a little bit, go back to sleep, wake up, cry a little bit, go back to sleep. After a few times, I'll go in there, and sometimes it's just she is having trouble going back to sleep. She has a full diaper, or she, I don't know, maybe she thought she lost her teddy in her dream. I don't know, but you know, I really try not to go in there right away. How's milk supply when you breastfeed a toddler? Any changes? So yes, like it's so different. I actually tell friends that I have that are breastfeeding like much younger babies. I just mentioned that there's such a difference to when I breastfed Sage at like 6 months versus a year and a half. My milk supply is so much lower. I'm pretty sure even if I pumped right now, I'd probably have like half an ounce. But I know like pumping is not necessarily an indication of like what baby is getting. Before, I used to wake up and feel very engorged, and I could tell that I had milk in my breasts. And like now, honestly, it just feels like they're normal, but Sage still breastfeeds. Like and I hear her gulping, like she's like, like she's like gulping down milk, but I don't feel like they're full anymore. In the morning, I definitely feel more full, and I know there's milk in there, but I don't have that really full feeling anymore. So I think my body is just making just enough for what she needs. If I wanted to produce more milk, I would probably pump. On certain days where I'm eating certain foods, I'll notice I have more milk supply. The biggest things are like just making sure I'm sleeping and I'm eating enough, and lowering my stress, which is really hard when you have a toddler and trying to work and do everything that life is asking you to do. Yeah, it's definitely like when she was younger, I felt like I was breastfeeding. My boobs felt really big, and now they just kind of feel like back to normal, a little lower, a little stretched, but yeah, it's different. How do you navigate balance for a stay-at-home mom? Where do I start? I'm struggling to have a schedule. Yes, I relate to this so hard right now. It's challenging for sure. Some things that help me is, early bedtime. As hard as it is when your kid goes down to bed, you're like, party time, I want to stay up and have me time. But having a bedtime for yourself that's not midnight. A couple things I've been doing is reading before bed instead of watching, TV or Netflix. I've actually gone through 3 books in the last few months, which I'm very proud of, because I used to read like here and there, but I've just been reading fictional now, and it's just a really nice, relaxing way to end the night. Also, going out for some walks and fresh air. If you feel like you're struggling to find time for movement and exercise, just taking your little ones out for a stroller walk is huge. Sage loves it. She's so calm. She's people watching. She's just taking it all in. It's like a little form of meditation for her. It's very therapeutic for both of us. Matt and I usually can just talk together without one of us like on Sage, and we can usually do a good hour walk if we want to, and I feel like it's just good for the whole family. So if you can get out and walk, even if you don't have your partner there, put on a good podcast and go for a walk. I usually try to do it before her nap. Now her nap is like later in the day, but it's just a nice way to break up the day. Otherwise you're just home all day with them. But yeah, having like little scheduled activities that you do every day just to get outside the house or just get out of your living room, I think is really helpful. If you can like leave them in their high chair for a little bit after they're done eating, give them some toys. Sage will usually like entertain herself for a little bit, and that way you can get a meal in too. I think that helps a lot. Just having a few things during the day that you're like, I do this every day, even though it feels repetitive, they do make a big difference. Do you give her supplements besides breast milk? How much liquid does she have? Okay, so yes, she does get supplements. She gets a probiotic, a vitamin D, and then a fish oil. And then in terms of liquids, it's just breast milk and water. Oh my God, I relate to this so much. Diaper change tips. I never suspected that changing Sage at this age would be so hard. There's times where I'm changing a poopy diaper and I'm screaming for backup because there's about to be a hand going straight into the diaper. She's about to flip on the bed onto her stomach, and I honestly envision just poop going all over the room, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And I feel like she's way more difficult with me than Matt because I never hear him calling for backup. And when I'm doing it, it's not because I'm like, no, I could just use an extra hand. It's because shit is about to go everywhere, literally. So I find a couple things I've been doing is giving her, like, I'll try to give her something new to play with. I've seen the trick of giving toddlers like an electric toothbrush. I have an electric nail file that I've been giving her, like just the base of it, and she finds that very entertaining. Giving them something new helps out a lot, although you run out of things really quickly. I'm like scouring the room, just like looking for anything to give her. Singing songs, talking to her, but it is difficult. But yeah, something like vibrating or just is very distracting for them, so that has helped. Okay, this is a big one. Transitioning from 2 to 1 naps a day. So I've seen so many videos on this, and I feel like it just seems so far in the distance for me. And usually you hear toddlers transitioning around the 18 months. Sage, just like her 4-month sleep regression that reared its ugly head at like 3 months. Sage, I feel like just needed that extra push a little bit earlier. She was already kind of fighting a nap anyways, and we finally made the plunge, and we are officially at 1 nap a day. So she used to nap for an hour at like 10:30. We would cut it off at an hour, so like actually wake her up. That whole saying, like, don't wake a sleeping baby is totally, like, that is such old school news, because like sometimes you have to for them to like follow a certain schedule and actually get good sleep. So if we would just let her sleep all morning, she would not take her second nap, and then she'd be way too tired for bedtime. So before the transition, we did 1 hour nap at 10:30, and then we would do a second nap at 2:30 to like 4:30. It usually would be 2 hours. But now we are doing 1 nap at 12:30. And I'm telling you, she's sleeping so much better. Today she just did just over 3-hour nap. So I usually aim for 3 hours of nap time during the day and then 12 hours at night. So in total, I guess 15 hours of sleep, which seems like so much sleep, but without that amount of sleep, they're just like not happy. And you have to remember, they're growing at like a rapid speed, so they really do need that sleep. And when you're on a good schedule, it just makes the biggest difference. But that is the transition that we're at right now. You know, it took us a little bit to get there, but because I put in some really good foundational work in the beginning when Sage was around like 4.5 months, I feel like it's just made the whole process easier. And if you're struggling to find a routine and your baby is not loving sleep, like Sage was not a good sleeper before I did a gentle sleep training with her, you should definitely check out my friend Lily's online baby sleeping course. I have a coupon code to get you $50 off. She actually changed my life with sleeping. Before I met her, it was actually a subscriber that reached out to her and said, you need to go help Nicole, she's struggling. She totally saved my life and is the reason why we have good sleep now. She taught me so many good foundational things that I just never knew about babies and sleep. She really targets her dream plan based on your specific needs, what your schedule is like, when you want to wake up, when you want to go to bed, and what the needs of your baby are. So I just cannot recommend her enough. I will have a link for her down below. And these are like the products and tools that I've been using that I recommend. And sleep is just such a big one. I never understood why people pay for experts to help their baby sleep until I experienced that, and wow. So if you're struggling with sleep, honestly, go seek out someone who specializes in that field, because it will make such a difference. Like, I can't even think about if I didn't find Lily when I needed her. I was so beat down, crying every day, so tired. That was when Sage was waking up like every hour and a half, and just by doing a few simple things, Sage sleeps so well now. Like, I just thought she didn't like sleep. Now she like can't get enough of it. So a lot of questions about schedules and naps. So I'll just kind of give an overview. Sage will usually wake up around 7:30. I'll give her milk. She'll play a little bit. She'll usually have breakfast around 8:30, and then she'll play in her high chair for a little bit as well. And then we usually go for a walk. We come back, she'll have a snack, and then she'll have her lunch early now because she's doing 1 nap a day. It seems so early now for me to be prepping her lunch before noon, but she'll eat around like 11:45, 12, and then some milk, and then down for her only nap of the day at 12:30. And then she's been doing like a good 2.5 to 3 hour naps now. And then she'll wake up, depending on how she's feeling, I may give her milk or just a snack. And then she'll play, maybe we'll go in the pool, just keep her active and stuff. And then she'll have her dinner at 5:30. And then usually we are trying to get her into bed at like 6:30. Sometimes it's later, but honestly, I find when it's later, she ends up waking up early. It's not like if we put her to bed earlier, she's gonna wake up earlier, but 6:30 is like the sweet spot for her. So usually you can tell the best time for your kid, but that's the time for us. And then she'll usually sleep right till 7:15, 7:30-ish. So we're on a good schedule right now, but it's just so important to like stick to that schedule. You know, there's times when you're on vacation or maybe you're going out for dinner and you're moving things around a bit. But for the most part, I think it's what you do like 80% of the time that's gonna make the biggest difference. So there's still like room for like, late bedtimes and stuff like that. But I do find when that happens, it does affect her sleep the next day. How do you keep yourself from comparing to other babies on Milestones? This is an interesting one because Sage, I don't even want to say she's like a late walker, but she is just over 16 months. And you always hear people are like, oh, my baby walked at 1 year old. And I thought Sage was going to too, because most of the like people in our family walked around 1 year old. So I was expecting that. And then when it didn't happen, I thought, oh, like what's wrong? You know, you get worried, but she knows how to walk. She's also a very good knee crawler. So I feel like babies that are good crawlers tend to walk later, at least like Sage has. So she definitely like can walk. She likes to hold her hands and walk. She's a small baby, so she's a little bit like wobbly still, but she can walk 10 steps, no problem, cruise around the furniture, pick things up and walk with them. She just likes to hold her hand or do a knee crawl because she feels like she gets around fast enough. So I think it's easy to compare to other babies, but just know your baby is on their own schedule. We all learn to walk eventually, so there's no point of stressing out about it. Just help guide them and support them as they are learning these new skills. All right, I think that was a lot of questions. I wanted to get through as many as I could, so thank you so much for submitting those. And if you guys have any other questions that I didn't address in this video, leave them down below. I will try to answer them in the comment section. And if there is any like tips and tricks you want to provide to other parents that are following me and watching this video, also leave them down below. Especially with the big feelings category, I feel like that's just such a big one that everyone's trying to navigate, how to reason with a screaming toddler that's having a full-on meltdown. It's a lot. I feel overwhelmed most days. I'm trying to do it all. You know, Matt and I were talking about the fact that, you know, in our household, there's 2 parents that are working full-time, yet we also have this new full-time job of raising Sage. And a lot of times it can feel like a lot because it is a lot. And we're so grateful to be parents, and we love Sage so much, and she's brought so much joy into our life. But it doesn't take away from the fact that parenting is hard. There are good days, there are hard days, and you just gotta remember every stage is a stage, and things will pass, and then there's gonna be a rainbow at the end of the dark tunnel, and you're gonna be like, oh my God, they're so cute. We made the best baby. And then other times you want to rip your hair out, and that's probably why I have like postpartum hair loss. I said on my Instagram, motherhood is a roller coaster that I am so happy to be on, but it is a roller coaster. So there's ups, there's downs, there's twists, there's turns, and you just got to learn to navigate it, go with the flow, breathe. Don't take things personally when they're screaming at you, biting you, hitting you. They're just learning to be humans with all these emotions that us as adults still can't figure out. So I think it's important to give them a little space and grace and just try to understand what they're going through instead of just getting frustrated, you know. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I have so many other mommy baby videos on my channel, which I will link a playlist down below for you guys. If there's any other mommy baby related videos that you would like me to film, also leave those down below. All right, I feel like I've been talking forever. I'm gonna drink some water. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and just know you guys are supporting my mommy journey so much. It's been amazing just connecting with moms online and just make this like new space not feel so lonely. So thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.